This is Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast.
We go to the state library and look up, historical records for the different football teams and how they did under certain circumstances. Would come up with tables that would be cross-referenced when different plays were called.
This is Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. I'm Kevin Savitz. Bob Graves wrote Gridiron Glory, a football game which was published by Atari Program Exchange. The game first appeared in the winter 1982-1983 APX catalog. His co-author was Mike Drury, who was unavailable for an interview. Bob and Mike created two other Atari computer programs, Asteroid Artist and Ramblin, Gamblin, which were published by their own company, MicroMate Software. Here's the APX catalog entry for Gridiron Glory. Gridiron Glory by Mike Drury and Bob Graves, recommended for ages 12 and up, written in BASIC. Coach your favorite football team to victory. Football is as American as mom's apple pie. Kids grow up playing in Pop Warner leagues, and adults spend inordinate hours watching football games. For those who can't get enough, we give you Gridiron Glory, a two-player professional football simulation played from a coach's perspective. Using a combination of keyboard and joystick controller commands, you and your opponent coach any of the 28 professional football teams. Each team is programmed with a different profile, based on more than 30 statistics, such as punting average and field goal accuracy. You have 8-minute quarters to outcoach and outscore your opponent. A 25-second clock ensures a fast-paced, exciting, and often nerve-wracking game by forcing each coach to call plays quickly. The playing field displays your position and movement of the ball after you call your plays. The scoreboard displays yards gained, rushing and passing, total first downs, current down, yards to go, time remaining, and timeouts left. By careful play selection on defense and offense, you can experience the feeling of Gridiron Glory. The authors invite questions and comments by mail and telephone. Review comments. Although the animation and sound aren't exceptional, the program personalities of the teams and the game's strategy are outstanding. The user manual is very good. It's well illustrated and contains useful information for coaching strategy. Requires Atari Basic Language cartridge, a set of Atari joystick controllers. Order information. It was available on diskette only, which required 32K of RAM, cost $22.95, and was APX catalog number 20188. This interview took place on June 14, 2016.
I started out as a key punch operator back in 1974, and that was kind of my introduction to big iron kind of stuff. You know, there was an IBM mainframe and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when the small computers came out, I was looking at getting one, and I found an Atari 800 that at the time was a good price with a disk drive for $1,600. And I bought it and just played around with it, and it's kind of my intro to it. I had taken some programming classes. I live in Tallahassee, and Florida State University's right here. Mm-hmm. So I took some Fortran, and at work I started doing some SAS programming and some language called Mark IV. Then on the Atari, I just mostly did BASIC.
So where were you working, and what were you working on?
I was at the Florida Board of Regents, which oversees all the state universities. At the time, the Board of Regents in the 80s was eliminated. And then in 84, I worked at Florida State University until 2009, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. I retired about that time, I'm thinking.
So, all right. So you had your Atari, and you tell me about the story about messing around with that, and how you met Mike, and set me up there.
Yeah, Mike and I, we worked together, and we became good friends. We both enjoyed music, and radio stations would have those call-in things, try to guess the name of something, and we would win albums and stuff. So Mike and I just became friends, and he was a programmer, and we both enjoyed sports stuff, and so we wanted to try to develop a sports-type game for the Atari. knowing that, the graphical limitations, so we made it statistically based. And that's, we just worked on it from there. We're probably about 2 years apart in age. I'm a little bit older, but we worked well together and had a lot of fun doing it, and would sit down with a bunch of friends and play the game and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a very different sort of football game. It's not very graphical heavy, and you're not like doing the joystick and trying to run. It's more like it's more database, like you said. So
yeah, it's just statistically based. We go to the state library and look up historical records for the different football teams and how they did under certain circumstances, and running the ball or passing the ball, defense, this and that, and would come up with tables that would be cross-referenced when different plays were called.
Now, Mike had told me in email that you did most of the programming and he did most of the statistics.
Right. I mean, we both wrote routines in there. He did a lot of the statistical comparisons to come up with the play result.
Okay.
And I played around with trying to get whatever animation we can. The only animation we really had was the football field moved under the ball. The ball kind of stayed stationary. We had a little referee there that would have very basic movements. Then we'd have a yellow flag drop for a penalty. And I tried to get crowd. Now, I mean, I played around with, I had the cassette deck too, and tried to play around with getting crowd noise by, having it turn on and play crowd noise, but that was kind of hokey. So we left that out.
Fun.
We just had a lot of fun playing with the features in the Atari using BASIC. Also, because we were doing it in BASIC, we were limited as far as how much motion we could have.
Sure.
So, and my second computer was an Amiga.
Oh, that's also a nice machine. Fun.
Yeah.
Did you write this with submitting it to Atari Program Exchange in mind, or when it was done, how did you submit it, and how did that process go?
Yeah, not at all. We didn't. We just wrote it to see if we could do it, and then we did it. And we would have friends, like I said, gather together. We actually had set it up at this bar one time, and we're playing it there. And but it was just our friends doing it. It really wasn't open to anybody else. And they could have played if they wanted to come on over. But they seemed to enjoy it. It didn't have any bugs in it after playing it quite a bit. And then we found out about this Atari Program Exchange, and we tried to market it a little bit. We had an ad in a magazine, which I believe was, what was it, Antic at the time?
Probably.
What was the magazine? The Atari, yeah.
There was Antic and there was Analog.
Okay, it was Antic then.
Okay.
And we had like a quarter thing ad in there, and we had a couple people buy it through there. It's it didn't sell very well, but it didn't bother us at all. We didn't expect to make money from it. But we did. One of the Atari reps did invite us to Atlanta for something going on up there, and just to meet us, and he was very nice. And
tell me about that.
We had a good time up there.
What was the event?
I forget what the event was, tell you the truth, but it was just I can't remember.
All right. So there was another version of Gridiron Glory published by MicroMate Software. Was that you, or was that?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. All right.
When was that?
It was before the APX version, I think. There was the MicroMate Software version.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean sold through who? Is MicroMate
a publishing house?
It might have been us.
All right, so maybe this will jog your memory.
We did kind of start our own company and tried to sell it through the magazine, which was before Atari. Atari Program Exchange, they marketed it, so to speak, or they sold it.
Right.
We tried to sell it on our own, and actually, now that you mention it, MicroMate was us.
Okay, that's the name of your... So MicroMate Software published Gridiron Glory and Asteroid Artist and Ramblin, Gamblin.
That is definitely us.
Okay.
Yes. Good Lord, I was forgetting all those. But thank you. I mean, the Ramblin Gamblin I remember was a blast to play. I mean, I enjoyed that, but I forget what all. There was a horse race in there.
There's a horse race and roulette and blackjack and something else. I don't remember right now.
Yeah, and the Asteroid Artist, I have very little memory of that one, to tell you the truth.
It was a drawing program for kids, which which is not available. The Atari people try to archive everything and get everything online, and no one has a copy of that.
Okay. Yeah,
So do you have a copy of
Mike
that?
about that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's Mike, right? I think I told you, is in the process of moving from one house to another.
Right.
So he's very occupied.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, so we're looking for
those two.
Yeah, that's funny. You forgot about it. Well, can you, now that I've jogged your memory, can you tell me anything about those games and why you made them? I mean, was there a kid in your life that needed an art program, or
Oh no, we both had young kids at the time. I see my son now is 30. My daughter's 45. My son is 38 or 7, and he has a daughter that's about 38. So we had young kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there were definitely kids in our life, and that game I completely forgot how it worked or anything about it. Now the gambling one I remember working on.
Well, tell me about that.
But it was we just wanted to come up with a variety of games. I'm not quite sure why we did that one. We just enjoyed working together. I mean, I think that was part of it, and we learned a lot with subroutines and calls and everything within BASIC by doing that. And it was just good programming skill stuff. To something we could do, because we were both programmers at this time at the Board of Regents, doing things that we had to do there. And this kind of gave us a different outlet for doing stuff.
Yes.
But we're talking back in '78, I guess it is.
It was a long time ago.
It was. A lot of things have transpired since then.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah. Well,
so, all right. What haven't I asked? Tell me some stories about that time.
There's not. I mean, the Atari was a fun computer to use. It had. I had a black and white television set I'd bought from J.C. Penney to hook up to it, and because I couldn't afford a color one at that time, because after spending that money on the Atari, which kills me that it was in retrospect $1,600 for what I got.
Yeah.
And I did a memory upgrade on it, which I think when I originally bought it, it was 32K, and I upgraded it to 48 at some point. And the diskette drive was, I believe it was an 80K drive. And I didn't have that at first. Actually, I bought that later. I had started out just with the cassette drive, and that was just too excruciating to use. So I upgraded and got the disk drive, the 5 1/4 inch. And we kept those machines for some time. And we also, I had gotten a Pong machine when Sears sold them back in 77. I think I got the Atari in 78. And we had an Atari, their first game machine. I forgot what model that was.
The VCS, the 2600?
Yeah, it's, with the cartridge you put in, it had the one basketball player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And see, I'm forgetting some of the time frames, because Mike and I both had one of those, and we would compete with those, and I think that got our interest going in some of the other stuff about the same time, and realized the limitations of the sports games on those platforms. And you really couldn't do that much with the animation part, because it was pretty basic, which is why I wanted to come up with something, the football game, which was our first one. And then Gamblin one was, we might have played some stuff here and there, but that's I really wish I could remember what the impetus was for us to get going on those. So I had different game systems, and I guess that's what got her interested in that.
Cool.
Yep. And Mike and I still stay in touch. I mean, it's he let me know. I've been helping him with some of the moving part, and so he's a longtime friend here.
That's awesome.
But neither of us do that. He went into programming, I went into networking as our careers evolved.
What do you do today? You said you're retired? How do you keep...
I'm retired. I was a network administrator at Florida State University, and I did some adjunct work there in teaching networking.
So how do you keep busy now?
Well, now, actually, because of my love of music, I DJ'd professionally for a while, but I've cut back to just doing it as a hobby. So, I mean, I love music, and, I of course, have laptops to do that with, and I have a lot of gear for that. There's a band I play in sporadically. We only perform once a year, but we have about 20 rehearsals a year. And we have 5 grandkids, and I windsurf and play tennis. So that's what keeps me occupied. And we travel and have a travel trailer.
Nice.
And as far as game playing goes, I really don't do much anymore. I do some stuff on an iPad, some word games and stuff like that. But I've always enjoyed the logic type games, because I do have a game on the iPad called Ace Patrol that was based on, the Avalon Hill military games. Mm-hmm. Those with the hexagons and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, this game is like that. It's not a real-time thing where you have to be quick with your reflexes. It's more of a, you can think about your move and make it.
Strategy thing, yeah.
Yes. So that's why, I've always played a lot of the Avalon Hill games as a kid. And, Mike and I had also played a football game that was a board game that was somewhat similar to what our online one was, but I forget the name of it. So I think that's where our interest was in putting one online.
Cool.
But that's about it.
Yeah. All right. If you could send a message to the Atari community that still exists, and you can right now, what would you tell them?
Nothing. I'm glad Atari's still making games. I'm sorry they got out of the computer, because the Atari Amiga, I thought was a great machine back when it came out, and I don't think it was. I think their marketing arm went, but I'm thankful for all the Atari folks, because I know Commodore 64 was a big competitor at the time, and I thought it was a great machine to learn on, and I learned a lot, and keep enjoying it.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
If you enjoyed these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.